Now let's unpack the polls on the Kwabenya constituency, which was actually put together by the Global InfoAnalytics. So this afternoon, I have my guest with me, Musa Dankwa. He is the executive director for the Global InfoAnalytics. Thank you so much for keeping faith with Metro TV. I think you have been giving us, feedback on all the analysis you've been doing, and we've benefited from it so much. Thank you for your time.
It's my
You're
pleasure.
welcome to Good Afternoon,
Thank you.
Ghana. So tell us about what really is it, the whole controversy around Kwabenya that pushed you into the area that, let's work on this constituency and see what will happen.
Precisely. We want to always be doing stuff that matters to Ghanaian voters. So where there are issues, we tend to go there and pick opinions and report back to the country. So exactly what we did in Kwabenya.
So when you went there, what was the, first of all, the demeanor of the people, considering what they knew was happening with their MP?
I think the Kwabenya is divided.
It is?
Yeah, it is divided.
On what ground?
There are sections of voters who believe that the MP should be left in her job. And there are sections that believe that she must go. But overwhelming majority wants her to go as a minister of state. So they agree with the president on that call.
For removing her?
For removing her.
Okay.
And even on the removal as MP, majority of them also support that move, that she should be removed as MP. Those are different matters.
Now, those who think she should be left alone, what is their educational background, literacy, state of literacy?
No, we haven't looked at that particular data yet, but we have it. But broadly, women want her to remain because they are seeing that as a gender issue. So most women, not most, a lot of women in Kwabenya want her to stay as an MP, especially areas like Taifa North and Taifa South. That's where the strongest support for Adjosafo is.
So now let's get into the breakdown of the graphics. I think I can have them on the screen so that, okay, can I have it just behind me so that I can just see it properly? This one says that this is a pie chart. It says, do you support the removal of Adjosafo as minister? We have the 33%. Oh, I'm sorry. We have 33% that said yes, no, said no. 6% says we don't know. 61% says yes. Right. The next slide. The next slide. So we're looking at the breakdown, how the results of this poll conducted on this constituency actually looked like. I still have, do you support the removal of Adjosafo as MP? 31% said no, 7% says we don't know, 61% said yes. So in all two questions, the leading response is yes, remove her from both positions. Do you believe that Adjosafo has been treated fairly by the NPP? And this one as well, the leading yeses is 68%. They support that. 24% said no, and 8% says we don't know. All right, so this is the graph. I wish that can you put it behind me so he addresses the graph and give us, assuming it's his mic so he can deal with it. He will be looking at it from behind me. So kindly put it behind me so he addresses it. Assuming there is a by-election and Adjosafo decides to contest. This is contest. I think there's a spelling mistake. Contest as an independent candidate. What will you vote for? What does the graph say?
Basically, we run a scenario where there is a by-election, and we have the NDC fielding Akurugu as a candidate, and then Mike Okwe assuming he is the MPP's candidate, and throwing in Adjosafo going as independent candidate. What will the race look like in Kwabenya? In that instance, 32% of Kwabenya people are saying that they will vote for Adjosafo. These are the same people who were opposed to her removal, opposed to her dismissal.
Oh.
Exactly. So These are the people who are voting for her to remain in the seat. Then 20% of voters are preferring Michael Kwei in that race. And then overwhelmingly, 42% are voting for Eliquim Akurugu of the NDC. 6% said they will vote somebody else rather than these three candidates. So in a three-way race, I just have to split MPP votes and allow Akurugu to win the race.
Right. So I'm looking at, she's splitting the votes. We'll have those who say no in the earlier, earlier grade. Will probably swing either to Mike Okwe or to the NDC.
I think we'll get there. There is a chart that shows
There's
how.
A chart that shows that. Okay, so the next one, it says, as assuming there is a by-election and Adjasafo decides to contest as independent candidate, who will you vote for? Right. And that also says what?
This is the three-way race.
This is the independent.
Yes. Now, there should be another graph that says, assuming she's not going as independent.
Assuming she's not going. Okay, yes, Henry, do you have that slide? Assuming she's not going as independent. Do you have that? If you don't have that, you can address it. You can address that.
In that case, we found Michael Kwei attracting 34% of support.
Assuming she's not going?
Yes.
And the rest?
And 59% are voting for Akurugu of the NDC.
Okay.
And 7% said they'll vote for somebody else.
Now, that seat has been described as a very safe seat.
If you look at numbers, yes, before the election.
I remember Paul Adumotre did analysis on it where, for 20 years, it has been a safe seat, obviously. We looked at the figures in the news this afternoon, and you could tell that it definitely is a safe seat. How did the whole voter, swing to the NDC side?
You see, when it comes to elections, sometimes past performance doesn't make sense. A lot could change in an election year. The historical performance doesn't make any sense. And we are in that kind of situation right now in Kwabenya. Because in the survey that we did, Kwabenya has 10 electoral areas. Luckily for us, we've been there almost 4 times this year. Okay. So we understand that place very, very well. In the February poll we did for Kwabenya, Michael Kwei was winning 5 electoral areas, and Akurugu was winning 5 electoral areas, split. But the end result was tie in that constituency at the time. Fast forward to yesterday, when we finished the polling, Michael Kwei could only manage 1 electoral area. That is Taifa South. That was the only place he won. Akurugu won in Taifa North, where the church is. So the split within MPP is coming strongly from Taifa North and Taifa South. And Taifa North and Taifa South contributes 45% of MPP's winning margin in that constituency.
Oh, okay.
That's her World Bank. It's now becoming a microfinance, to say the least. So when the split happens in that area, everything else falls apart. And that's what we are seeing in the polls.
So the percentages could swing in bigger margins?
Yes. In fact, if you look at, we kind of triangulated, or we caused a crosstab for people who were voting for Adjasafo in the 3-horse race. How did they end up voting when it was 2-horse race? 45% of her supporters went to Michael Kwei. 51% of her supporters went to Akurugu. That is why he's losing Kwabenya. So unless Adjasafo is on a campaign trail with Michael Kwei, that seat, he will not win it. And I wonder why he would join the campaign when they were the ones that removed her. So without her in the campaign, that seat will be gone.
Is that to say that the people are voting for a personality or for a political party?
See, there are 2 things, or 3 things. There is a general mood of the constituency which is reflected in the country as a whole.
Right.
Things are hard. Those reasons are there. Those who felt that the party hasn't delivered. Then you have the issue of Adjasafo, how she is being treated. There are sections that feel that she is being treated unfairly. And those sections are not going to vote for any other candidate other than Michael Kwei. Else, that vote goes to NDC candidate. And that's what we've seen in the polls.
How is their response about performance
of the
of either Adjoa Safo as an MP or the MPP as a party that's
Right.
been there for about 20 years?
If you look at the question on general direction of the country, in February, 49% of Kwabenya people said the country was heading in the right direction, compared to 44% who said wrong direction. Today, only 12% are saying the country is headed in the right direction, a drop of 37% in Kwabenya. Those who said heading in the wrong direction has jumped from 44 to 83. So this polling number that you are seeing down the road should not make anybody feel that it's a surprise. Now, if you look at the president, at the time, 45% of people approved him, 48 disapproved him. Now, 17 approved and 79 disapproved. So all this is feeding into the local race.
Yeah.
So the numbers are very bad for the MPP in Kwabenya, and nobody should be delusional about the real situation on the ground. It's really not good. In terms of the government performance, 1% said they've done excellently. Very good or good, 20%. Average, 30%. Very poor or poor, 48% in Kwabenya.
How should the NDC respond to this, and how should the MPP respond to this? And what's your margin of error?
My margin of error is 4.217%. So if you apply, even if you double the margin of error,
4.217%. Let's say 5.
yeah, let's say 5%. And Akurugu is on 59%. So plus and minus. Makokwe, 34%, plus or minus.
Right.
And unfortunately, people said they have made up their mind.
Regardless the time we have left.
Absolutely. And we even asked them whether if the government does things, development projects in the constituency, if that will sway them. The answer will be shocking to you.
Okay.
It's quite not very good for them to be in the
Your last
right
words,
now.
but I want you to respond to what the MPP should do, what the NDC should do.
I think they have better advisors than
you.
than me. So the figures are out there. They could change the race. And maybe, I don't know what will happen if they bring another candidate other than Mike Okwe. But what we've seen is that Mike Okwe is not very popular in the constituency. No.
Regardless his father's history.
In some cases, what we've heard is even hurting him.
What did you
the
hear?
The areas that he seems to do well is Taifa South. And they are saying that the father did a lot of work in there. So they want to reward the son for the father's work. Other than that, elsewhere he lost.
Oh, wow. That's an interesting research. Okay, but thank you for the breakdown of this. We'll keep faith with you and also analyze most of the polls that you come up with. Thank you so much for your time. Musa Dankwa is Executive Director for the Global InfoAnalytics. They have come out with the latest survey on Kwabenya. We'll get back to you. My name is Ania Fampo. Thanks for watching.